Took a long time taking that jump, but this is another example of things that are a little bit faster than your character are, so it can be kind of hard to time. You'll notice that my head sticks into any ceilings that I run across. That's kind of an unusual. It makes jumping feel very unnatural. I'm not sure why there's just a hole in the middle of those center two columns. Doesn't serve to be serving any purpose. All of these are easy jumps made more difficult by the fact that your head catches in the ceiling. Which again, I'm not sure why that would be, but it does make the jumping feel very inorganic. I'm going to have to hope that either I don't die anymore or this game isn't very long, because as you've certainly noticed, I am running out of interesting things to say. It might not be obvious just watching, but the edges of all these platforms aren't actually where they are visually. There's a slight difference, and it's especially noticeable in the entrances to the so-called doors. It's easy to get juggled around, and even though you're right next to it, you don't actually end up going. And that's also interesting. I just skipped. Which is why this, what should be a fairly easy platforming section, is causing me a bit of trouble. That's another example of something phases back in where I am. Different rules take over and cause my character to kind of hover, but also to lose his second double jump, and so you're pretty much doomed if you randomly get that error. And it's entirely possible to work around it, but it's still kind of frustrating. It's like in Battletoads, where how it deals with water. If you leave the water at any point, you're just instantly oh, that's interesting. Those are apparently. Anyway, in regard to Battletoads, if you leave the water at any point during your jump, you just kind of rocket skyward as if, because they have different rules for air jumping and water jumping, and they change over instantly, so it ends up being a very strange feeling, and you frequently jump directly into spikes. Whereas in this case, you just can't go through doors, which is basically a no content added difficulty thing. Yeah, so far this has been, I mean, it's comparable to I Want to Be the Guy, and more than just the general aesthetic feel and all that. But so far, most of the trouble I've had hasn't been with the segments themselves. It's just been with poor segment design. No, I mean, it's still been it's been an okay game. I mean, obviously I wouldn't have continued making the video for this long if I wasn't having a certain degree of fun, because there is a certain degree of fun to a challenge. If anyone hasn't read A Theory of Fun in Game Design, I recommend it. It's a pretty short, very approachable book, but it's basically about how games operate in our brain, and he has a number of interesting theories. I don't know. I forget the name of the guy who wrote it. It's the same guy that did some of the original design in the Ultima series, but basically he's saying that our appreciation of games isn't aesthetic like a picture or like music or like and most other examples. It's about the game in some small way training itself to learn new things. I mean, the brain actually releases serotonin in situations that learn new patterns, learn new skills, that sort of thing. It was how humans developed a lot of basic skills. And the idea is that games mimic that. So we're playing out the learning that humans are supposed to do, and your brain rewards you when you do things right. And so, I mean, there are definitely games that you can enjoy for the story or enjoy for just the straight fun of the gameplay, but most of the time, like, half of the fun is in mastering a system, in figuring out how it operates, and basically in learning lessons, and that's what your brain rewards you for. It's an interesting book. He says more than that in the book, but that's definitely the part that I thought was most novel and had the most to add. Though if I keep dying on this section, I could end up just giving you guys an entire synopsis of the book. Well, I've died an extraordinary number of times on this. I guess I'll give another example. He talks about how violence in video games is always kind of a strange debate, and why video gamers almost always disagree. And I think he has an interesting thing there. He talks about a theoretical game in which you are some kind of dictator or overlord, and you drop prisoners into this pit where they will be held prisoner and all that, and they'll attempt to crawl out by stacking on top of one another. If prisoners are put in rows, they'll suffocate to death. And so then if you can keep your prisoners, if you can throw in the prisoners in such a way that they keep suffocating, they'll never be able to fight their way out. And what is described, of course, is a different version of Tetris, if you assume that you have multiple shapes of prisoner. And he's saying that in effect, all violence in video games is fundamentally the same, because Tetris, or this people-killing game, it's the same principle. It's about stacking shapes in a way that causes them to, in this case, form rows or to accomplish the objective, whatever the issue at hand is. Well, we have that guy. Hey, we have the gun. I assume that means we'll have a boss. Heh. And we have Sinistar. That's a decent way to finish off the game. Can't tell whether or not he's targeting me or whether, yeah, he's targeting me. Anyway, the idea is a first-person shooter. Oh, that's too bad. To finish off this example quick, because this is obviously some kind of boss. A first-person shooter is really just an example of moving a targeting point to a specific point on screen. It's not an issue of killing people, and in a sense, it's just... Well, there we go. We can kill that guy early. It's like the first form of the guy. And of course there's a second. If you want the real argument about that, read the book. It has interesting things to say beyond that.